Hello and welcome to this PV Magazine webinar in which we will take the pulse of the markets right across the EMEA region with a focus on smart application trends in tech and home storage at their core. My name is Maria Maish, an editor at PV Magazine Global, and joining me today in the moderation of this webinar is my dear colleague, Tristan Reiner.
Thanks, Maria, and hello to everyone. Coming up, a unique program, 2 panels, presentations, and of course, question and answers throughout. We'll first host a fireside conversation with GoodWe and Longi, and later a wide-ranging panel discussion crossing international solar markets with distributors from across EMEA joining us to talk technology, demand, challenges, and offer some fresh perspective on the residential market. But first, a little housekeeping, followed by some data points to warm you up for the sessions to come. Maria.
So we want you to get involved today, so please don't hesitate to send through your questions and your comments and join the discussion. We'll endeavor to get to as many of them as possible and feed them into the discussion and at the end of each of our program segments. Watch out for a poll as well, which you can participate in. And before you ask, the slides you'll see will be available afterwards, and all registrants for today's webinar will be receiving an email from the Big Marker webinar portal with a link to the recording, which you can further share with your friends and colleagues. And of course, the PV Magazine webinar team is standing by to answer any questions you might have about the Big Marker platform or any other administrative matter.
Yeah, and on behalf of Maria and myself, PV Magazine and the other panelists, just a serious note for a second. We want to be upfront. We note the topic of the war in Ukraine will likely emerge for its impacts on solar, commodity prices, supply chain, and so on. It's, of course, a sensitive and important issue, and we hope for better days soon. The topics are related as we head back into our session, so we'll do our best to keep things moving. So, Maria, energy independence. The residential battery storage market is tipped to continue growth, and we have a range of data to commence the conversation today and give you a basis as we move forward through the afternoon's talks. Maria, to the data and a few brief slides coming up.
Indeed, even before Russia invaded Ukraine, energy independence and decarbonization were goals for the next decades. Batteries for the home have shown households can maximize consumption of self-generated power, and where solar starts, the doors for other technologies in the home open up. So let's have a brief look at market data. In Germany last year, households installing premium solar and storage systems benefited from an LCOE of 12.2 euro cents per kilowatt hour, which was nearly 1/3 of the average electricity price at the time. With that in mind, Solar+Storage is becoming a default offering in an increasing number of markets. In Germany, according to Bloomberg New Energy Finance, over a half of new residential solar systems are now being built with storage. And in Switzerland, this number stands at around 15%.
Yes, Maria, the forecast for residential solar and storage in Europe is pretty bright, with the home battery fleet set to grow over 400%, from around 3 gigawatt hours installed storage capacity in 2020 to almost 13 gigawatt hours installed by 2025, according to Solar Power Europe. Of that number, Germany accounts for 70% of home batteries installed in recent years, and the trend is towards ever bigger capacities. Policy and market factors across Europe, including incentives and disincentives, such as net metering in the Netherlands and Belgium, all have their effects as well.
Yeah, and meanwhile, oil-dependent markets have a strong incentive in the Middle East have a strong incentive to diversify their economies and have all set ambitious renewable energy goals. If they are to be realized, the region will have to deploy more than 50 gigawatts of solar PV by 2030, with Middle East. But meanwhile, Middle East does lag behind other regions in the world when it comes to battery storage rollout. One of the factors, at least in the earlier years, were concerns around the impact of high temperatures and humidity on the systems. But one positive change which is coming up are some new regulations that will likely expand allowances for behind-the-meter storage in association with time of day tariffs, in particular in the United Arab Emirates, as well as some utility-scale tenders mandating a specific size of storage.
Yes, that's right. And touching on Africa as well, an enormous continent, we see batteries being deployed as the central piece in energy systems serving remote regions with little or no grid coverage. This is at utility scale. Much of the storage is in hydro as well. Small scale will benefit from lower price batteries in the future, while South Africa is a rapidly growing market as one bright spot in the enormous continent. So the battery markets in the MEA region are still in their nascent stage, and further insights into how they grow will be part of our discussion today. Finally, onto the data, lithium-ion batteries have increased by around 10 to 20% in cost recently, with current commodity price booms unlikely to cause anything but further increases in the short term. Analysts at IHS Markit projected a rise in stationary storage projects over the medium term of around 3 to 5%, but with no dent to the growth outlook despite that, leaving us with a bigger market to come. And yes, Maria, sorry.
Yeah, that's it from our side. And without further ado, let's get things underway by introducing our webinar partner today. Headquartered in China, GoodWe has a comprehensive offering across solar and energy storage, including hybrid inverters and battery systems. In 2020, only 10 years after its launch, GoodWe earned the title of the leading supplier globally of hybrid inverters from Wood Mackenzie, with over 15% market share. To date, it has delivered more than 23 gigawatts of inverter capacity around the world. With its recent rebrand as a smart energy innovator, GoodWe has brought out its high-tech identity. And representing GoodWe here today, and the first one of all excellent speakers to join us on stage is Thomas Herring, Managing Director of EMEA region. Thomas himself launched GoodWe in the European market in 2018. He has 25 years of versatile experience in sales, marketing, and business development, working in fast-growing and highly dynamic technical markets such as solar PV, electrotechnical products, and wireless communications. Thomas, I'm delighted to welcome you to the stage, and will pass the floor over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Thanks for the introduction. Tristan mentioned it in the beginning. It's actually quite difficult to behave normal these days, like nothing happened in the world, especially when you see every evening the pictures in the news, which are completely frustrating and terrifying. But even under this environment, I still wish you a good day and welcome also on behalf of GoodWe to this webinar today. The focus of this webinar is home markets and storage systems. The idea that we had here in the beginning is to look at different markets and how they change in the coming years or in the near future, or how they have maybe changed already in the past, and what we can learn from these changes and how we can benefit from these changes in the past. So we have also, I'm very glad we have some of our major distribution partners here with us, which is Memodo, which is an international company, but originally based in Germany. And we have VP Solar, international company, but also based in Italy. Nartec, originally coming from the Netherlands, but also with an international footprint in Europe. And Rubicon, who is also active in Europe, but has their origin in South Africa. So also thank you very much to all of these four partners for joining us today. And we will look at different markets together with them. The residential markets are very dynamic and can change instantly. This has to do with fit changes, fee and tariff changes, net metering changes, subsidies in storage, legal requirements, energy prices. A very good example here is Italy, but we have seen tremendous change from 2020 to 2021, and even this year in 2022, we also expect a major change in market dynamics in Italy. Another market which we expect to change quite soon in a different scenario is Poland, which is at the moment pretty much an on-grid string market, and we expect this to become a storage market in the very near future. So the trend is clear. There's always one way also that goes from on-grid to storage and never goes back. So I think this is something we can see in all of the EMEA markets. The markets we want to discuss today a little bit closer is Germany, Italy, Belgium, and South Africa. We have also the right partners here with us today, but we also will look obviously to the other markets. What we have, I think, here out and the audience today is mainly consists of installers and distributors, and I think we should we would like to lead a discussion in a way to show you how we can benefit and take advantage from these market changes. And first, it's very important, I think, for you to choose the right business partners and the international suppliers, because only if you would choose the right partners, they can help you to react fast to these changes. They give you the right information, the right solutions, and products and supply, especially these days as well, supply into the markets. And on top, I'm representing GoodWe here as Managing Director for EMEA. I'd like to also show you today how GoodWe, as a true one-stop shop, particularly for storage solutions, can be helping you to fulfill your business targets in your markets. So having said this, thanks for the chance to introduce, for the introduction, and I give back to Maria or Tristan.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. I really appreciate that introduction, and I appreciate your words as well. So, well said. Now we move on to our first panel of the day. As you can see there, we unfortunately had two planned speakers joining us for a little fireside chat to discuss residential storage and solar modules. Unfortunately, Jason Yan from LONGi was unable to join us, and he offers his apologies. We had a short chat planned, but we'll proceed with a smaller chat with Ali Bawatur. Ali, if you can turn on your camera to join in. So Ali Bawatur, the Technical Director for EMEA at GoodWe. Ali graduated from University of Stuttgart, working and living across 4 continents. His combination of a solid technical background and a holistic business understanding as GoodWe's technical director brings drives to his organizations by building the link between technology and customers. And Maria, maybe you could just offer a few words introducing Jason and LONGi. Again, he offers his apologies for being unable to join today, but just an idea of what he was going to bring to the table today.
Yes, we are sorry that Jason wasn't able to join today. Jason spent 6 years in the photovoltaic R&D department with new materials and products development, accumulating rich knowledge about PV products, including the detailed process of the whole PV chain, from raw materials to system analysis. Jason then took a turn to product marketing manager with an in-depth understanding of the trends, product advantages and disadvantages, and understands products most how to make products attractive to the customers and why. Yeah, so back to you and Ali for the chat now.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. So Ali, if you're there,
yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Let's get into our fireside. Yeah, thanks. Sorry. Let's get into this fireside chat. Obviously, with batteries now more common for solar owners, Jason said a few words to us before this about PV modules regarding power efficiency and cell technology. We can't really speak to exactly what's happening, but LONGi was looking at TOPCon as a future technology for their solar modules, with the trend of the industry being higher power modules and increased efficiency as well. So, Ali, how does that play into what you're doing at GoodWe, and how closely do you work with partners like LONGi on your roadmaps?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Tristan, for the introduction. And well, basically, solar panels, and inverters are the main components, plus the battery, of course, in the whole system. And everything needs to interact together for an overall system that works perfectly for the user. And we see a strong trend from the solar panel manufacturers, of course, to improve efficiency, to increase the outputs of the panels, with the ultimate target, of course, to have more capacity installed in smaller surfaces, to reduce costs, and so on. And what we see in the market are the trend is the same towards higher power, for sure, but also we see different manufacturers, panel manufacturers, following different strategies. And we had LONGi here, and we know that their approach and their strategy, from what we know in our cooperation with them, is that they are one of the manufacturers that are focusing on rather increasing the efficiency while keeping relatively similar solar cell sizes, while other manufacturers are going towards larger solar cell size, and solar cell size increasing from 182 millimeter going up to 110 millimeter. And this is something that comes of course, with benefits for sure. I mean, increasing the power means it's an opportunity for the users, for the installations to have more power installed on the same surface, same roof surface. If we are talking about residential installations, it comes also with larger size of solar panels, which could be also for residential installations also a challenge to fit large size panels. But overall, this also leads to us on the inverter and the energy storage side that we have more power available to store and to convert on one hand. But also on the other hand, we see the currents that are coming from the solar panels are increasing. And
Right.
this is the main challenge. I mean, this is the main challenge that we see for an inverter, because that's what requires the inverter to be able to deal with his high currents.
Yeah, so we've seen an increase in currents from the low teens of amps up to somewhere around 18 amps now, I believe, and certainly that's across GoodWe's roadmap to come.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we used to have panels that are bringing, as we see here, 8 to 11
yes,
amps.
perfect.
Yeah, 11 amps per on one DC string. This was fine for most of the inverters in the past, but now going towards 13, 14, 15 amps. And yeah, we started with larger scale products for utility scale, for commercial scale, by upgrading all of the inverters to be able to deal with the higher currents. And now it's also there for the residential. For the residential market. And I think the trends there, this is one of the major trends that we also would like to discuss today, that is partially driven by this high output power of the panels, but also due to other reasons, that there is more and more power now available and being able to be installed on the same roof surfaces that we had in the past.
Yeah, sure. I guess that sort of leads us towards combining building integrated PV with battery storage systems. I think there's a few topics we could discuss there in terms of how GoodWe might manage, I guess, potentially greater generation of power into the inverter sizes, but as well as the challenges involved with both retrofitting houses with BIPV and new installations with BIPV. Any thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's BIPV market is a very interesting one, because it's been and it's still a niche market. PV is a retrofit market, certainly. I mean, that's the mainstream. But keeping the thought that now, in many countries, every new house, either by incentives, by even regulation, certain countries, like we're seeing, for example, in Germany right now, certain regions imposing solar power on new buildings, that and even from the economic point of view, that it simply makes sense for new builds to integrate solar from the beginning. This is opening up room for building integrated PV, because it also brings practical advantages, plus also aesthetic advantages by using seamless integration of PV into PV panels into the building. So that's also certainly an interesting trend to observe over the coming years. And us as GoodWe, we are also bringing up new smart and also interesting solutions for the market. So I just say to the audience here, stay tuned for this BIPV part, because GoodWe will be driving this market as well.
Yeah, look, and before we get into your presentation, I guess this is a chance for me to say, okay, so you have 18 amp to 20 amp inverters coming soon. What's the development process like within GoodWe as you create new products, test them, and then get them out to the market? What's the sort of timeline here? And is there anything that consumers and those of our peers joining us today might be interested in from your side?
Sure. I mean, we certainly have to adapt to the high pace in the market. Sure. I mean, the trends are very quick, and that's the importance of investing in R&D resources. On one hand, to be able to develop and test and release new products, but also on the other hand, in doing it in a smart way, in a platform technologies that are in a modular concept, and that's what we follow, that allow us to step by step also adapt parts of the inverter to this new developments. So, for instance, I mean, to release new inverters that are able to deal with this high power solar panels. We're not necessarily developing new inverters from scratch, but we are taking existing platforms and upgrading them, thanks to a modular technology that we follow there, and that help us to keep pace and launch new products within few months. While the process of developing a fully new inverter, just for the audience, just to give an indication, developing a new inverter and certifying for grid requirements and so on is a process that might take actually a few years. So we see a lot of products or a lot of companies also taking 2 years or around 2 years to get a product developed, tested, and also certified for the markets. So that's what we are trying to speed up by basing on existing platforms.
Yeah, right. That is interesting. I think that's a valuable little bit of insight there. Certainly, when we see you at trade shows, we see the latest inverters and tools coming on board, and then it's sometimes a little bit of a delay. And so, explaining why what we see at a trade show versus when we can buy it for our homes and so on can be interesting. So, thank you for that. Ali, I think what we might do is end this panel just a tiny bit early, and we'll let you get into your presentation if you're ready for that. And
Sure.
We'll, you remain on camera. I'll jump off, and we'll see you at the end of your presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And I will be pleased to talk to our guests today about the smart energy innovation and the market trends that we're seeing in the EMEA region. So here we're looking into various markets and trends, and certainly we've seen from you, Tristan and Maria, that the storage market is growing, exponentially, and it's now becoming the mainstream anyway. Here we're also sharing some numbers from Wood Mackenzie that are highlighting this growth. Certainly there are regions in the globe like US and China that are dominant in terms of installed capacity, especially because of the deployment of large-scale projects in utility scale. We see in our region, the EMEA region, that is significantly growing in residential and commercial applications. And this is due to storage and PV becoming on top of the political agenda, especially on this distributed small-scale projects. And this growth in our EMEA region is coming with new trends and use cases for PV and storage. And this is what we would like today, during today's presentation, to share with you, also as a trigger for the discussion later on with our partners. So we see new cases of PV and storage. We talked about PV and building materials being integrated as a upcoming interesting market. Integrating PV with storage, with EV charging, heat pumps. So this is the integration of all electricity, mobility, and heat technologies into one ecosystem is one major trend. Plus PV and being able to manage the home loads and to looking into smart home applications. So these are the main three new use cases that we are seeing, and during the presentation today, so we'll be sharing with you some examples. So on our side, on GoodWe's side, what we are basically proposing and offering to the market on the residential side, as we talked, the BIPV, so the building integrated PV, the inverters, batteries, that are two things that the market knows us best for. But we're also bringing EV charging solutions, home kit solutions that are able to manage smart home applications, plus the monitoring and maintenance applications. And so all of this, if we now concretely start looking into certain trends in the market, we see one of them is clearly that the residential installations are trending to higher and to larger capacities. There are different drivers. I mean, no secret that electricity consumption is increasing due to this trend of electrifying household equipment, but also e-mobility and heat pumps, increasing electricity costs. Also, not only taken the current given, I mean, we had the trend anyway of increasing electricity costs, but the current geopolitical situation is not making the situation better, unfortunately. And this comes with also the large installation having a better cost ratio. So which means the large installation is more competitive in the kilowatt hour in the electricity that it produces. And this comes with policy changes that drive in many countries toward larger installations. If we take, for instance, Germany, that removed the cap of 10 kilowatt on residential installations, or also we see Italy that has the eco bonus. I'm sure it's going to be a topic of discussion later, that also gives incentives for larger battery capacities. And all of this, let's say, macro drivers come together with technology drivers. We talked about the increasing PV module power that makes it possible to install more power, and also the flexible inverter and storage portfolios that, for example, us or that we are able to offer and propose to the market. And we see now typically residential installations going to the range of 15 kilowatt peak or even higher, up to 30 kilowatt peak. And this is an application that can be very flexibly served with a combination of hybrid inverters and PV inverters from our offer. And also coming to the next step is the new large hybrid solutions that we are developing and bringing also to the markets, with hybrid inverters going up to 30 kilowatts. Another trend is for sure the integration of PV storage, electromobility, so EV and heat pumps. Inverters control smart grid ready heat pumps. They also control EV chargers. This is integration that can go through dry contact, but can also go through a smart communication with Modbus protocols. And what we see here as a very important factor for the users is the seamless integration of these components, so seamless control, and also the seamless monitoring of all of these components in one platform that makes the customer experience and the journey of the user with all of this different equipment very seamless and very easy to monitor. And there it comes also the importance of having one-stop shop solutions that integrate all of this together and offers the consolidated platforms for monitoring and control, but also consolidated support and service. Backup power. Tristan and Maria talked earlier about South Africa and the load shedding. Certainly, that's a main driver in our region for installations with backup power. But interestingly, this is not the only one, and not only in regions where the grids are weak, we see demand for backup power. Interestingly, also in Europe and in countries with very stable grid, there is the aspiration and the emotional need of users to become independent from the energetic point of view. And what we see in our experience in the market, that integrated solutions that serve the self-consumption while in a seamless integrated way, they offer a backup solution like we have in all our storage inverters, gives the user an additional use that is anyway there, and gives an additional motivation for the customers to decide and to deploy solar and storage on their roofs or on their homes. Solutions that come with the UPS level switching time of less than 10 milliseconds, for instance, and that makes it very attractive for users that not only look for optimizing their electricity bills, but also for having secure supply and a backup power for their homes. Another very interesting trend, and this is, in my opinion, what requires the highest flexibility, or what also uses the flexibility of our residential technologies. Residential technologies are decentralized, a very small scale, but combining all of them together brings very interesting new use cases, such as the virtual power plants. The virtual power plants consists of different installations that are in different locations. You see here in the photo one example of installation that we had in the US in Hawaii. Here it's just one same community, but this could be also, one same geographic community, but this can be also geographically in totally different locations, and merging all of these power plants, small power plants, together to a bigger one, and having them communicating through an energy management system that is linked to the inverters, or also remotely via cloud technologies such as an API. And when there are the proper policies and the suitable policies in the country, so we see, for example, Italy or Germany, where we all have use cases here already in place, that we are able to deploy such a use case. And I would like also to share a very interesting one that we experienced, not in our region, but in Australia, that even this type of residential virtual power plants can be used to provide services of frequency control to the utility companies by helping stabilizing the grid, not just simply by every power plant separately, but as a whole virtual power plant. So these are also very interesting trends that can further drive the deployment of solar and storage. Commercial installations, besides the residential, are a very strong market segment, which has been in the past not very dominant, but which is now getting more prominence and also having an increasing added value to the commercial customers. There are many drivers. Of course, the self-consumption of PV car electricity to reduce the electricity bill. But this comes with a challenge, because the electricity price per kilowatt hour for commercial customers in many countries tend to be quite competitive, and makes it challenging for PV and storage to compete. But if we add other functions, such as peak shaving of expensive power supplies, of the power peaks or the backup power, this adds additional benefits for the commercial users that go beyond the simple self-consumption. And what you see here on this graph is an example of a daily load curve in a small factory. See here this red line is two peaks. When they exceed a certain threshold, the user would be paying for the power. And what we can deploy with PV and storage solutions is to cut these peaks, so to reserve the battery capacity for these peaks, but also to also reserve capacity for blackouts in case they happen. And we see a lot of businesses that are highly interested in securing their power supply, even if the grid is stable. But we see also tourism or hotel applications in remote areas that strongly look for this type of applications. So what is needed is flexible inverter and storage solutions that are able to serve these different needs of the commercial customer. And we would like to share with you here two practical examples of installations that we serve on almost a daily basis. If we look here on the left side, this is the typical 100 kilowatt peak installation in Germany. So the Germans here might be aware of the limit of 100 kilowatt peak for certain installations. Beyond that, things become a little more complicated. So there is a market segment up to 100 kilowatt peak. And this is actually perfect for small companies, for relatively small commercial rooftops, where we can fit an 80 kilowatt inverter able to produce 88 kilowatts. And combine it with a combination of flexible storage inverters that we can run in parallel, and connect up to 660 kilowatt hour of lithium battery. And this flexible combination brings an interesting solution for the market, in this case in the German market, just as an example, that with the flexible portfolio of solutions, it's able to match the needs of every specific market. And on the right side is also a new solution. So we're driving the integration of the inverter and the storage by going into new hybrid inverters, 50 kilowatt, and we're also developing higher power inverters that will have a very nice beauty for the users by combining all of the self-consumption, backup, and peak shaving solutions in one device. And for instance, by offering a powerful backup of 50 kilowatts, it becomes possible also to secure the supply for a whole building. Right. So, I mean, I've been talking about different trends. Our audience, if somebody is interested in looking into more details and knowing more about the solutions and the technicalities maybe behind them, and also the detailed application, you're welcome to join us in different webinars, or to join our installer program, GoodWe Plus, where there we are give you, next to the solution introduction, we give you also some further benefits, such an automatic warranty extension and some other benefits and the support. But we look forward also to questions from the audience, and to the discussion that we're going to have over the coming part of this webinar.
Thank you, Ali. That was wonderfully informative, especially for our installers in the audience. For those of you who might have joined late, this was Ali Boutour, Technical Director of EMEA at GoodWe, who just showcased the versatility of home batteries and associated technologies. And as we prepare for our wide-ranging panel discussion today, we would like to hear from you on smart energy integration and the use of PV and storage at the home. We know that you're joining us today from around the world, so you may well have your respective regions in mind when answering. Tristan, to our poll, what do we have?
Yep. Okay, Maria, and I'll get Ali to stay on with us as we get answers. And Thomas, if you want to come back on stage as well to discuss. So our poll, as you can see here, please participate and put in your answer. In which of the following segments do you see the greatest potential for the home market? PV plus building material and building integrated PV, PV storage, EV charger and heat pump altogether, or PV plus home load management? Please use the poll sitting there alongside our video to answer. And Ali, as those results are coming in, we just had a question from the audience regarding PV plus EVs, and if you're seeing any developments in EV batteries being used in second lives as a home storage solution.
Very good and interesting use case as well. So thanks for the participant who raised this point. Certainly, I mean, second life batteries, we see them in a small scale being used, but already going beyond simply the R&D stage, but also going into real manufacturing. And actually, we partner with one of our partners, system integrators here in Germany. Interestingly, is also looking into combining this second life batteries coming from EVs and integrating them into simplified container solutions, and combining them with one of our inverters and offering them as a lease model. So this is certainly opening up new use for storage in the commercial side. Could be also residential for sure, but I see strong strong potential on the commercial side for this second life EV batteries.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense. Okay, so the votes look like they're in. Thank you to everyone for participating. We'd love to see it. Maria, what do we see here? What are the results?
Yeah, we see the strong lead of the PV storage EV charger heat pump synergy. So, Thomas, any surprises here?
No, I wouldn't say so. So, I mean, PV storage charging and the heat pump, I don't think it's a trend anymore. It's beyond the trend. I think it's already reality. I mean, it's what we're seeing today. And then if we believe that this is reality, then the load management is also just a matter of time, because this is then also needed in order to manage all these energy uptakers. And so for sure, that's probably the most important important topic at the moment. The building material, I think we're talking here mainly about BIPV, building integrated PV, and similar. It's a bet, right? It's a bet. But if we believe, and I believe in this, that photovoltaic energy is the most important energy source in the future globally, I believe this will be 100% also a trend in Europe and in the other regions, because it's just by definition, if PV will be used everywhere as a major source, then why not put it already integrated in a house? Why to make it more complex?
Indeed, good point. Yeah. So,
Okay.
should we move to our second panel of the day?
Let's do it, Maria. So up next is our second panel of the day, and I'd like to now introduce some panelists from across the world and invite them to the stage. So if you could all turn on your cameras and give the audience a wave when you're introduced. First up, we have Ricardo Frizzinghelli. Ricardo, where are you? Turn your camera on. Don't worry, we'll get him there. Ricardo is developing new markets. Yeah, no worries. Ricardo is developing new markets for VP Solar, and his main activities are to analyze the market and competition, participate in international trade fairs, find new customers, manage existing customers by finding new business opportunities, identify channel development, and more. So, do we have Ricardo there yet? No, but we'll keep moving on. We also have Jeroen Lux, country manager of Belgium, Nartec Synergy. Jeroen has been with Nartec Belgium for 2 years, and I hope I'm pronouncing Nartec right, and has been active in the energy sector for many more years before this. Jeroen is responsible for exploring the storage market opportunities with the goal of making Nartec the market leader in Europe. So welcome to Jeroen. Maria.
Welcome to Tobias Wendlander as well, CEO of Memodo, Germany. Tobias is the CEO of Memodo together with Daniel Schmidt and Enrico Brandmeier. He has 12 years of experience working in the PV industry and is responsible for the entire purchasing process at Memodo and its daughter companies. He is located in South Germany in Bavaria. Hi, Tobias. And then we have Nick Roche, Chief Product Officer from Rubicon Energy, South Africa. Nick has worked in various roles in the industrial automation and PV industries for over 20 years. He took on the role of branch manager when he opened the Rubicon Cape Town office 11 years ago, and he was then tasked with the responsibility of managing the Rubicon product portfolio and starting the product development division in the Chief Product Officer role in 2019. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. So, with many of our industry friends, peers, customers, and colleagues on this session, and with lots of specialization in each of our own regions, to start this session, it's worth touching on each of your regions for around 1 to 2 minutes, and then perhaps Thomas could give us a summary of what we are seeing here. So, Jeroen, first to you.
Thank you. I'm mainly responsible for the sales in Belgium, so my experience was all about that. So what we saw last year was the integration of the battery systems for the residential house owners. So it was the first year we started with this because of shifts in regulation and also subsidies. So the trend we are seeing right now is that batteries are here to stay, and the systems we installed last year are mainly dumb battery systems, meaning that they are only being charged with the PV production and only being discharged when the appliances need it. The trend that we are seeing right now in Belgium is that we are searching for smart battery systems, and those systems are also being charged from the grid and discharged towards the grid when the grid prices are fluctuating. So a lot of energy suppliers, they have a dynamic tariff right now available. So a day before you get which hour are the best times to purchase energy, and the systems from the future know this, and they calculate when they have to charge and discharge. So the business case of a storage system will be more and more important in the future.
Yes, good point, definitely. Let's turn the floor over to Tobias in Germany.
Thank you, Maria, and hi to you all, guys. So what we have in the German market is we have a storage market since many years now. I would say we have been starting really early. It was coming more and more, I think, from 2015 on. But what we see in the last years, especially the last 2-3 years, is an dramatically increasing demand every year from private household owners. What we have in German market, and it goes away from, because in the mind of the people was in the past always, oh, PV make it still sense. They were more on the feed-in tariff, and this totally stopped. So they all want to go to self-consumption, to be independent, and the main installations are always now demanded on storage system. So it's, I would say, 9 from 10 inquiries are always with storage system. It's really not big reasons why people don't want the storage system, and it will increase. So we have the new government in Germany. They still thinking about and talking about new subsidies we will have in the German market, who will also give us a big boost again for the PV with storage, and also for bigger installations. What the goals we have for the PV installations in the next years, it will go, the plan is from 23 on, 24 on, to go to 10 gigawatt in the German market, and from 27 on, the plan is to build 20 gigawatt just in the German market. And so we have a lot to do all together, I would say, but we have big opportunities the next years, and it will be very, nice outlook for the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a very dynamic one. So now let's hear from Nick in South Africa.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, Maria. Thank you. Our market is probably quite different to yours, but also very growing very fast. We're seeing huge demand across the board, from commercial through to residential. The main drivers in our market are quite steeply rising energy costs. We're seeing that coming through quite strongly now. We're very much a self-consumption market, so our grid operators don't really support feed-in tariffs very well, or not in a way that is very attractive. So because of that, storage is an important part. The other obvious driver is the grid stability. Our grid is not that stable, and because of that, we're pretty much on the residential side a 100% storage market. Grid tied, just straightforward grid tied PV systems in the residential space are, I would say, close to zero. So the market is obviously, that's why we do very well with GoodWe, because their hybrid inverters are quite popular here, and it supports the self-consumption and grid stability sales that we do.
Yes, very interesting and very different drivers in place over there. Do we have Ricardo joining? Is he maybe with audio here at least? Seems not. Oh, okay, not yet. Still working on it, no problem. So we heard about different things, different drivers in place in different markets. So Germany, a very dynamic one, as Tobias said, 9 out of 10 inquiries are for PV with storage. Totally different developments in South Africa, of course, not only there, also Belgium, but maybe Thomas, could you give us a summary of what we are seeing and what the dynamics are at the moment, and how's the market changing?
Yeah, I mean, you heard from these 3 different countries at the moment, and the big challenge that you see in this storage market, and also especially as a manufacturer of storage solutions, inverters, and also batteries, is that all these markets have very different requirements that are very, very challenging in some aspects. So, for example, Nick mentioned the South African market and the needs there, and our hybrid product there. One of the key elements for South Africa is the UPS functionality, the uninterrupted power supply, so the very fast switching into a battery system when the grid falls out. And that is something which we deliver with products, but it's typically not a requirement in Europe, because the grid usually doesn't drop as it does in South Africa. So we see on Europe and Africa and different markets, very different products needs. Like in Italy, it's more a single phase market at the moment with low voltage products a lot. In Central Europe, it's more 3-phase high voltage solutions that are required more. So there's a whole lot of different products that you have to supply and certify and make sure that they are stable and have a quality. And this is the big challenge that we see right now. But what's interesting to say is that with all of these partners you have here today on the panel, we grew the market share tremendously over the last 2 years, tremendously actually. And the major reason is because all these markets underwent significant changes over the last years. And we were able to cope with these changes because we had the portfolio. And I think that is what coming back to in the beginning, it's as important who you work with, because if you have strong partners at your side, you mitigate the risk of a change of a market, and you actually win on this market.
Yes, exactly. Nick was joking in a call we had before this session that he used to have less gray hair. So quite a lot of dynamics and changes, and exactly highlighting the importance of having the right partners. Many markets are set to see a surge in retrofitted batteries as solar feed-in tariffs begin to expire. As Tobias mentioned, in Germany we had the first solar arrays that benefited from the 20-year fit introduced by them back in 2000, and they are beginning to expire. So people are now searching to maximize their self-consumption. But of course, we also have this big solar and storage becoming a default offering. So to each one of you, what trends do you see here? Is there more demand for retrofits? Is there more demand for PV plus storage coupled as a single offering? So over to Jeroen, please.
For us, it's both. So we had a lot of almost 10 years of PV installations are being installed, and they were all installed without batteries, and all those systems are becoming more and more independent on net metering. So therefore, the old systems all have to be upgraded with a battery system, and there the retrofit inverter is ideal. So that market is also big for Belgium, but every new installation has to be integrated directly with a battery system. So therefore, hybrid is also interesting. So, and that's the good thing with GoodWe, that they can provide both, and they're strong in both of those two fields. So we see a huge trend in the hybrid as well as the retrofit inverters.
Yes, and Ricardo, is that you? You joined in the meantime? Hello, is Ricardo online? No, I'm so sorry. Yes, as I mentioned, Nick, over to you. Can you tell us something about the developments in South Africa?
Yeah, our market is definitely changing. The demand is definitely very strong and very steep. In our market, I think the main sort of changes at the moment is as it matures. We're a few years behind Europe, and the let's say the level of understanding of PV was a little different for some time, and now we're starting to catch up. So the market requires a little bit more from the equipment, a slightly higher grade. They're more interested in things like warranties and the credibility of the manufacturers behind the equipment, whereas that was a little different a few years ago. So that change, of course, trickles through to us, and our customers are asking for good, reliable, solid equipment. And the end customers are smarter about what they want and more, let's say, firm about what they want, meaning that from our side, we need to make sure that we're onboarding the right grades of equipment with the right partners and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. But what are you seeing in terms of demand from customers? Are they asking for more complete packages, like they want to have the whole range of wall box, combination of technology, so everything that Ali talked about in his presentation, or is it like more single product? Tobias, over to you in Germany.
So for us, it is like you asked before, we will get, or we're seeing a slightly increase of the retrofit market, but it's still main driver of the market are new installations, and therefore the people looking for a whole package. So it's coming more and more. The EV is coming really in the market. So we had also a subsidy last year for wallbox installations. And there it was really the request of all customers to getting new PV installations. They want to also the wallbox for the EV charging, and also what Ali showed before, the connection with the heat pumps comes more and more. Especially in the last weeks, we're seeing more that people who planning already a gas heating, that they now switched and say, no, I don't want it anymore. Or also if they had an oil heating, so they all want switch immediately now to a heat pump. But we're seeing also it before that the demand is going more and more to heat pumps. And the best thing and all what people are demand is they want one whole packaging. So not every manufacturer prepares this. And so GoodWe is for us also a very important partner, because they're getting more and more in this whole packaging thing. And it's totally what we need for now and also for the future.
Yes, exactly. Jeroen, anything to add to that? How's the things look like in Belgium?
Yeah, definitely the same as in Germany. So the trend for heat pumps is very steep right now. Everybody wants to get rid of their gas consumption. And I think important to this is that GoodWe will open its cooperation with different brands of heat pumps, because I think the supply rate, because the demand is so high, that you see some kind of trend that inverter companies also want to provide their own heat pump. But I don't think that will be sufficient for the demand right now. As an example, GoodWe provides also different brands of battery to be connected to their inverters. And this is a very good thing, because I think the chain of supply is not so strong. So the demand is way bigger than the supply. And if you are very flexible in the things you can add, then you have a very strong brand. And I'm hoping that also GoodWe provides an open source and a lot of cooperation with different brands of heat pumps. And I think then we have a very, very strong product.
Yes, indeed. Nick, can we hear from you on this one?
Sure. So our market is a little bit behind Europe in that regard also. So electric vehicles are very much on the rise here, but the market is still quite small right now. So we're definitely getting very strong demand for EV integration, but it's more of a future-looking demand. There's a lot of early adopters and early players looking to be prepared, let's say, for that. In terms of hot water, we have a slightly different market. Heat pumps do definitely feature here, but a lot of the hot water is generated just by normal sort of resistive, or let's say traditional electric hot water cylinders. So that technology is definitely something that interests the market, but it's still quite early for for the full integrated package for a couple of reasons.
Yes, that's a good point. Ali, can we hear from you on this one? What is GoodWe planning in terms of heat pumps and what's currently the offer?
Yeah, well, I mean, heat pumps have deploying heat pumps means that the PV installation will be larger as well because it consumes additional electricity, and this is a very interesting driver. So on one hand, it is increasing the PV market and the storage market in general. On the other hand, what is important for the users is the seamless control and the seamless integration. Means that when the heat pump is scheduled to work, because the heat pump is typically relatively easy to schedule, also in terms of when it's working, that it's interacting with the inverter, that will reserve a certain part of the electricity for the heat pump, or will activate it also when there is a surplus. So when we have during daytime a peak of PV production, that the inverter is able to activate the heat pump also on that time. And that's the type of integration that we look at with different manufacturers of heat pump that we have here, mainly in Europe.
Yes, exactly. And like in some the adoption of the technologies, it's also a question what comes first. So the chicken and egg situation. In a conversation with a Norwegian auto industry player just recently, for the sake of one of our print articles, we found that EVs were driving solar adoption. So that how is it like in your markets? Are you seeing a solar drive EV adoption or the other way around? And how does storage play into this? We see that Riccardo joined us in the meantime from Italy, so it might be good to integrate him into the discussion. Hello, Riccardo. Hello. It might be that his mic is, sorry. Okay, I will ask the team in the backstage to try to fix Riccardo's audio if possible. And in the meantime, let's move to Germany and hear it from Tobias.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, what we're seeing is a little bit change in it. So we had always in the past the problem that people said, I don't have a possibility to charge my car, so I will not switch to electric. And also that the people have still in mind, I want to go like 500 kilometers. If I go to holiday, I need a car who can drive a long range. But it's changed now, the thinking. So it helps what I said before with the subsidy we had in the German market for wall boxes for the EV charger, that people say, okay, one day I will have the car, so now maybe I start with the EV charging system right now, and there is now a changing. It also, as I said before, like if you see in pricing what is paying on the gas station at the moment, people the last days especially say, okay, I should definitely change, and people are also switching their thinking in mind, because how often do they really drive 500 kilometers in once? So if they go once a year holiday, so it's not a big deal, maybe after 300 kilometers to stop with the whole family, go for a walk, get a coffee and go back on. So the mindset is changing a lot, and it is driven by not only from PV side or solar side, it's the total environment. And I would say, where is the changing coming from? But what we're seeing a lot, and also not in business, also in my private friends and family, that this mindset was changing a lot, and more people go minimum that they say, okay, we have 2 cars at home, we change one to electric car, because we don't need that many kilometers. And this is a good thing if I have my own PV installation on the roof to charge it by my own with an intelligent system who says, okay, I have, before I feed in to the grid, I do the power in my car and be independent on this way. And it's an easy way for driving.
Yes, good point. Jerome, would you like to chip in on this one?
We see the same trend in Belgium. And the trend is led by mainly the regulation of company cars. So in Belgium, our government decided that in the future all company cars should be electric. And this is a vast portion of every car driving around. So that really pushes the EV market. And also the perception with the end user is that if he buys a combustion car right now, in the future he will not longer be able to sell it for a nice rest value, because he thinks that his car has become too old and every car has to be electric in the future. So, and I think this will also drive the sell in PV, because the demand of electricity will ramp up rapidly, which is a good case for us. So the demand in electricity will be way higher than right now in 2022.
Yes, absolutely. Everything points to that. Ricardo, are you with us now? Can we? I still don't hear Ricardo. I'm so sorry about that, but we have some technical hitches. Okay, Nick, over to you. Would you like to comment on this one?
Yeah, sure. So again, our local scenario is different. There's lots of
Yes.
demand for new demand, let's say, for EVs. So a lot of interest, a lot of we're working very closely. We have a dedicated department for our e-mobility customers, and there's lots of demand to have PV with it because of the instability of the grid and storage. So many of the larger projects we're seeing are have a requirement for chargers with storage with PV, driven by a few things: the weakness of the grid for sure, but also the tariffs that we're seeing support that now too.
Ali, can we hear from you on this one to wrap it up?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, to wrap it up, I think certainly the EV, I mean, it's chicken and egg somehow, but in a positive, it's a positive spiral. Let's put it this way.
Indeed, yeah.
So that the demand on one side is driving the demand on the other one, and it comes also with a challenge on the infrastructure, and I think that will require. Now we're talking about residential, and when we talk about residential, also we tend to look at one family house and that type of classical family environment. But there is also the immobility for commercial installations, for also condominiums and larger residential areas, where certainly also policies needs to adapt and to make things less complicated from the bureaucratic side. I mean, if I look, for example, at Germany as a country, but also on the other hand is the infrastructure challenge as well. I mean, all of if we need to have additional lines, powerful lines that are able to support the high load of EV and of charging facilities.
Yes, and we got some audience questions in the meantime. Maybe over to Thomas. Is GoodWe offering also bidirectional charges?
In the moment, the charger is something we will be bringing out. We have not launched this product. How it exactly will look like, we will show it in more detail in the Intersolar.
Yeah,
and I would like to wait until Intersolar in order to come with the specification then. It's a bit early to mention
yes,
that.
Yes, sure.
But can I maybe I would like to maybe say one more thought here regarding the EV charging, which maybe is an interesting idea as well, because we talked about different markets. I lived some years in Arizona, in Phoenix. And Phoenix in summer was very hot. And when you go back to your parking lot in the evening from work, and you didn't protect your car, you cannot even enter the car. It's so hot. So you need to protect the car. And everybody was looking for shaded parking. So I think there's a lot of potential in the market, also for employers, to put PV shaded car parks into the parking lot of the office space where the cars park, and offer this to the employees, and maybe even for free, because the energy that comes there for free on the car park, and this could be a very big benefit for employers to their staff. and good stickiness for people who hang on to the company. Also from the legal side, to have in the US, that's where I come to carpool lane. You can also have carpool lane on EV cars and things like this. So there's a lot of potential from legislation and from companies to really push this market into the next level.
Absolutely, that's a great idea for sure, and that's what we are expecting to see in future. Okay, and back to our distributors. So, are you seeing customers target full home backups or more advanced features such as peak shaving, time of use, and balancing demand? So, over to Tobias in Germany. What are the main features that customers are asking for?
Yeah, so you have to see on which market you have in view, because for residential, it's of course we don't have really a peak shaving, but for the commercial sector, we will grow a lot in the next years, because the target, I say, is not achievable if only we have in the residential area installations. And what we will see from this year on, or we have it already in some countries in Germany, is obligation for PV installation on bigger roofs. And also, to the point what Thomas said, we will get an obligation for PV carports if we have more than 35 places for cars outside. So, and therefore, you need definitely kind of a peak shaving, because if you want to prepare everyone with an EV charger on every station, and then, like, say you have employees or you have customers like 40 or 50 and all together want to plug in their electric car, you will have a problem, because you don't have the electricity capacity at this point. Or you have a smart charging system, and then but every car maybe just get 1 kilowatt per hour, would also not helps a lot. So we definitely will need also on this obligation for PV installations for bigger roofs. In the commercial sector, we will always in the future need also batteries for the peaks we have. Not only if the peaks coming from some machines inside of a company, the peaks will always come with electric cars, and the number will rise. Will really rise in big numbers in the next years. And so if you like imagine you have like 100 employees, and let just 80 of them come with electric car and all plug in around one hour or less the car, you will have always the big peaks, and you have the intelligent system on that. And yeah, Ali, you had something.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to add something, because also coming back to the question of this bi-directional charging, but also the peak shaving. The technology is there, and that's what we would like to convey as a message from our side. So the bi-directional charging as technology is there. We use it already for battery charging and for discharging, and we're also able to use it in combination with electric vehicles. What is missing is the policy around it, what we call the V2G, so the vehicle to grid. What is the legal framework for that? So that's still not clear. And as long as that's not clear, we're not yet able to really deploy the technology in the large scale. And similar also to the peak shaving. Peak shaving, as I was showing in the presentation earlier today, we have the technology, so we're able also to deploy it. It will be probably less complex than deploying the bi-directional charging for EVs. But it will also come with more dynamic electricity tariffs, and this is also trend to be observed with the upcoming policies. And Tobias, you mentioned the upcoming carports, EVs being obliged, increasing peaks. Definitely, this will all come with change in the policies of the utility companies, as an example. But the technology is there. So we're able to serve it, and we hope that both the infrastructure side and also the policy side is keeping pace with us.
Absolutely, technology will always outstrip regulation, as we know. But Jeroen, perhaps your experience next?
We see some business cases already for small commercial sites that which have a lot of employees that go EV. that there are business cases to employ those batteries to take on those spikes in consumption because for some reason they can't upgrade their grid to the potential they need for their EV. And like Tobias told us, then every car has to be charged with a very slow amount, and that's not something you want. So we have some business cases already been sold and been integrated. So that is a trend we started and will excel for a lot of years right now. And also capacity tariff is also being employed in Belgium. So those spikes you make on the grid are also being charged in the future. So there's also a new business case for batteries on top of the other business cases we already have. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And back to Nick. Nick, you said already full home backups and UPS is what you're seeing, and there are only early adopters of EVs in South Africa. So anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, full home backup is very much a requirement. So that's the one use case. Peak shaving is quite important, not so much on residential, but more on commercial. We have tariffs that support that with capacity charges and so on in place. So there's already a market for that, but as I say, more commercial and larger scale. And then on the EV front, for sure, as I said earlier, the storage will be very important for several reasons. Also for capacity charging, well, the capacity charge tariff or tariffs will definitely be, it will be super important to have that integrated for sure, the storage.
Maria, just note you're on mute.
That's weird. Hello. Yeah, here I am back. I've been told that Ricardo has joined again. I mean,
I
managed
hope
to join us.
so.
Okay.
Is this working right now? Yeah, finally.
Yeah,
Really sorry
welcome,
for my
finally.
Welcome, Ricardo.
Thank you very much, Thomas. It's a pleasure. It's a great pleasure. Sorry, guys, but sometimes the technology is not really gonna help.
It will never be perfect.
I changed the computer, I changed everything. So sorry, but I was listening everybody, and you said that many things very smart. Thank you very much for the information I got it from you.
Yeah, that's great. So maybe just discuss with you, Ricardo, what you're seeing in Italy. So what are consumers asking for? Is it like full home backups, and also on the CNI level? If you can chip in on this one.
Yeah, well, it's definitely the storage installation is a booming completely in Italy. From domestic, we saw we doubling the numbers of installation plus 284%. This in 2021 in Italy, thanks of the new law that is incentives for the storage market and all the combination with the different technology. Absolutely. Now the 50% of the domestic installation is based on storage. Okay. Usually the size of the power is around 10 kilowatt or 13 kilowatt of storage batteries. And I would say that more and more the small commercial and industrial systems are more and more asking for a solution to cut the peak, as my colleague was telling before. And because of that, because of the price of energy is increasing, and everybody would like to save energy and to try to save for the car with the combination with the EV charging, and all this market is completely booming right now.
Yes, thank you, Ricardo. So that was a little bit on Italy, Thomas. I'm sure hearing from you on this one would be interesting. It's no secret that supply chains are constrained, and obviously being a larger player has its own advantages. But can you speak to what the industry is seeing here?
On the situation of supply chain, I think
Yes.
this is a quite interesting question, I think, to everybody out there, but I guess also to everybody here on the panel, they're also listening very carefully now. Situation is really, I think I have to take it in, I have to answer in two ways. One is the batteries, and the other one is the inverters. I think we have
Good one, yes.
the situation, the battery is really dramatic, I have to say. There's always a very dynamic situation with supply and prices with respect to lithium and cells particular, but also BOS component of the battery. And this goes instantly overnight, basically. So we also have to react, and we reacted a couple of times lately on these changes because we had to. And honestly, I foresee that the market stays very volatile and very unpredictable, especially in terms of also supply, but mainly in terms of prices, for the balance of 2022. So here I really don't see any relief, but I hope at least the price situation becomes in a stable situation, at least from now. In terms of inverters, it's a whole different scenario. Here we have this big problem because coming from mainly from the semiconductors, the shortage there. We see, I mean, we have also working with passive components like filters and capacitors, but it's mainly the semiconductors which drive an issue here. And it's the so-called IGBTs, which are power transistors that we use a lot, not only, but they are really here in big need. GoodWe is working here with the who is who of the semiconductor manufacturers, the key players of Germany, of the USA, and Japan. This has a good news and a bad news. The good news is that we have very high quality product. I think the best in the market that we can use for our products because reliability of the product is a very heavy value for us. The disadvantage is that all of the car manufacturers use the same semiconductor manufacturers. And you can see when you order a new car now, very easily you have more than 1 year supply time for a car. For a new car, and the reason is mainly the semiconductors in the car. So you can see the situation is also dramatic here. And I believe it's not as dramatic as the batteries. I see over the course of 2022 some reliefs there, but the key point here is also because you cannot really compromise in quality. I mean, in the short term you have high output, but in the midterm it destroys your reputation and your brand. So you cannot do that. So the only thing we can do is we try to work the same way with our suppliers as we work with our customers in a very much partnership-oriented way. I think the companies here on this panel can agree that GoodWe has the DNA of partnership, and we do the same with our suppliers. We try to really partner strongly with these suppliers, give a lot of transparency and very long forecast and long commitments. And with that, we try to be treated like a key account and like maybe not like an automotive account because it's unrealistic to believe you're an automotive account. You're not an automotive account. You're an inverter manufacturer. It's a different value chain here for them, or different on the food chain, a different value, but still as a key account, and to make sure that we get good supply. And I think so far, when you look at our competitors, we have done not so bad. I think we also have trouble, but we're doing better than many of our competitors in the market.
Yeah, that's good to know. Absolutely. I would suggest we now move to our Q&A part of the program, and I will like to invite my colleague Tristan back on stage.
Hello. Thanks. I've been listening and taking note of all the audience questions, and Maria asked a couple of them as they came in. A lot of general sort of questions, but some specific ones that I think might be interesting. To Ali, an audience question: do you see contradicting targets between maximizing self-consumption and participating within VPPs, the virtual power plants that you mentioned trialing in Australia already?
Sure. I mean, you have your infrastructure. You can target 100% of using it for yourself, or you can also target to share it. And I think there is not. I mean, if you're aiming at 100% low independence, then yes, then there is a contradiction for sure. But if you're aiming to share, and sharing here makes sense because when you have an added or an excess of electricity, other people somewhere else might be in need for it. And that's basically the idea behind it. So yes, I mean, there is a contradiction because you would be giving something away, but also on the other hand, it opens a very interesting use case.
Thanks for that. I hope that answers the audience question. And a sort of more specific one on something particular. Does GoodWe plan to introduce firmware upgrades? We have a sort of particular question about a particular series for direct energy control, but generally speaking, Ali, perhaps again, or maybe Thomas, but let's go with Ali. If you could talk about firmware upgrades and software and how long the support is for your inverters.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a very technical question. Sure, I mean, inverters are. I mean, to put it into the context, inverters are smart devices. I mean, they are the heart of the system, as everyone knows here, and the software is basically the intelligence there. And we try to give incentives to our customers and to motivate them to have all inverters online. And with the inverters being online, we're able, us remotely, or our customers are also able to locally do this software or firmware upgrades to bring in new functionalities. I mean, take an example, controlling a heat pump or controlling an EV charger. So with the software upgrade, we are able to upgrade existing installations with this type of new features and certain conditions. So yes, definitely, yes, we do this, and we encourage our customers and our installation partners also to put the inverters online for that purpose.
Thanks. I think that's a pretty good answer. Okay, an interesting question here for perhaps our distributors. So I might go to Nick. I guess, so the question is about self-consumption and demand response becoming popular. It's an interesting one. Are the buyers mostly idealists, or are they purely talking about financial benefits as an important motivation? And of course, we're talking about return on investments, and batteries are certainly not a small investment up front. So let's start with you, Nick.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are motivated by the ROI at the end of the day. It does depend a little bit on the specifics of what you're talking about and which segment in the market. But I think in general, our market is looking for an ROI, and it's also looking to shore up its energy supply. So perhaps maybe not so much idealists as looking to protect themselves a little bit and ensure security of supply.
Thank you, Nick.
So
and
there's
Ricardo, sorry, Maria. I was just going to ask Ricardo.
Yes, me too. Exactly.
Are you there, Ricardo?
Okay.
I'm here. Yes, very, very good. Tell me.
So I'm not sure if you caught the question about just if buyers of storage idealists, or if they're purely about financial benefits and looking at the return on investment.
In Italy, we have this incentive that is giving you at least 50% of your investment back, okay, in 10 years from your tax deduction. So that I would say that probably is from 5 to 7 years to get back the money that you invest for the storage system. Then depends, from your consumption and how you are due to use the energy, okay? But I would say from 5 to 8 years to get back the money.
Gotcha. Okay, Maria, sorry for cutting you off.
No worries. Yeah, so there's one on the battery chemistry, maybe Ali can answer. So what type of battery cells is GoodWe using, and are the batteries certified to UL 9540A or any other safety standards specific to the EMEA region? Hello?
Yes, thank you for unmuting me. So we use the lithium iron phosphate, which is a technology that has, for stationary storage application, the best trade-off between power, capacity, safety, and also density. So that's the state-of-the-art technologies on the mainstream market right now. So that's what the technology that we use. And yes, in terms of safety, the UL norm that the audience referred to, this is an American norm. So our products for the US markets comply to that. And for the European products, we follow the IEC norms for the safety side. And we're also adding new specific safety norms and standards like the VDE standard for German products that will also come in the future.
That's great to hear. Thank you, Ali. That answers the question. Yeah.
Yep, and we're just running out of time. So, folks, I think that is a great place to leave it for today. We have plenty of thank yous we'd like to get in. So we start, of course, with our audience for joining us today, joining in the conversation, participating in our polls. We really appreciate all of those contributions, and it keeps the discussion lively, keeps our panelists on their toes, keeps the moderators busy. So thank you so much for that. And of course, a special thank you to our GoodWe partners, Thomas and Ali, for initiating the session today, as well as Jason DeLonge, who couldn't quite join us, but certainly gave us some information beforehand to make sure we could present some module insights. And of course, thanks to our distributor panelists today across our regions. And Ricardo, next time we'll get you on for sure. No trouble. But thanks as well to Tobias, Nick, and Jerome. Thank you, of course, to our PV Magazine's event team who keep our webinars smooth or as best they can, keeping us well prepared, ensuring the whole show is a success. Maria.
Thank you all from my side as well. It was a true pleasure to talk to you today. And with that said, we have much more for you to enjoy. The March edition of PV Magazine is coming out this week. We have just wrapped up the whole thing and set it off to the printers, and plenty of great new investigations into cell and module technology in this edition. We've gone with quite a strong focus on TOPCon technology, where there's several gigawatt of production coming online this year, and put together a couple of articles on how we got to this point and what's still to be settled and standardized on those production lines. On the rooftop side as well, a great update from our editor-in-chief, Jonathan Gifford, on PV in Turkey, where big demand from the commercial sector is driving a comeback in installations this year. Lots more in the magazine, of course. We've got the latest on plans to establish PV manufacturing in Europe, in India, and some other regions as well. Lots of good stuff on power purchase agreements and unsubsidized PV in Europe as well. So don't miss out on those and much more in our March edition. Take note of the subscription discount code you see there. You can get a 10% discount with the webinar's 10 code, and we do encourage you to use it.
Quite right. Please do use it. Please read our magazine, and Maria and I both write for it, so it's very enjoyable. And as you can see online as well, we also have fresh industry news published. You can see there two of our most read articles over the last few days, one from Emiliano Bellini about fully PV-driven systems to produce water, electricity, and crops, which sounds good to me. And there's one there from Vincent Shaw on GoodWe, and talking about global solar installations possibly exceeding 240 gigawatts in 2022, which would be tremendous given the current uncertainty. We also have quite a few webinars coming up. So Wednesday, 16th of March, there's one there, Cutting Costs with Remote Commissioning, which is a utility sort of scale event. And then on the 30th of March, we have Bridging the Certainty Gap through a New Partnership in Quality Assurance and Insurance. Two difficult words to say close together. So thanks to our webinar team for that. I think that's just about it.
That's just about it. One last thing, a survey will pop up after the webinar. We'd appreciate your thoughts and feedback on how it all went. We do this for you, not for us. So any insights will go far.
Absolutely. So thank you all. Thanks for watching this webinar. And wherever you are in the world, I wish you a good day, a good evening, or good night. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks again, and bye now.
Till next time. Goodbye.
Bye.